Welcome to the Upward Running Podcast, where faith fuels your fitness journey.
Welcome back to the Upward Running Podcast. This is your one stop each week to be motivated and inspired. Get off the couch and onto the running trail where you can, in turn, inspire others to do the same. Let's learn, laugh, and leap into running together, giving God the glory for what we are able to do in His name. Amen. I'm your running host, Dean Thompson, coming to you once again from the Upward Sports Studio. Have you ever been caught in a storm while you're out on a run or maybe even a walk? Well, in today's story, we're going to talk about how we should approach those kinds of days. And here's a hint. You might be persuaded to pray a little differently after today. And then, do you like running on your own, or do you prefer to have a partner when you run? We're going to talk about both of those scenarios, and I think maybe how we should think about both of those things. And joining me for those stories and much more is Upward Running Director Mitchell Hollis.
Thanks for having me, Dean. So you had a big race.
I did, unfortunately.
There were several big races the past few weeks.
There have been. We're going to
Travis.
Yeah, we're going to talk about that.
Thomas, my pastor.
Yes, yeah.
So it's racing season.
It is. I love the fall.
Yeah.
It's the best time of year to run. It just is. I know the spring is great, but the fall is it.
Yeah.
It is the stuff.
Yeah, I walked down to my quiet time place this morning. It was a cold walk. It was in the high 30s.
Yeah,
and,
I noticed that.
So I'm going to have to start bundling up a little bit more. It's not that far of a walk, but man, it was cold this morning.
I'll bet. You didn't have any wind. If it had been windy, it really would have been cold.
Yeah. Well, that's why it got so cold, because there wasn't much wind. So
yeah. Well, yeah, I ran the USATF Masters Road 5K Championships this weekend. It didn't turn out great, not nearly as well as I'd hoped. But you know what? There's something going on in my body, and I don't know exactly what it is. I think I have some clues. I've tweaked my training and things a little bit that to help, I think. And right now I'm in that stage of doing something new, and I'm so sore that I have a hard time walking and getting up right now. But in the long run, I think it's going to help. So we'll see. But it wasn't that bad. I finished 4th in my age group. Turns out I was in the most competitive age group there was, unfortunately. But our team finished 3rd, so our team was on the podium.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
And again, we were in the toughest division. There were more teams in our division.
Which is what is your division?
My division was 60 plus.
Okay, so your whole team was 60 plus?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So we had we only had a couple of guys on the 50 plus team, but it turned out if they had just had a third guy, our 50-plus team would have probably finished higher than we did.
Oh, wow.
So, unfortunately, we didn't have a third guy. But
so, just out of curiosity, and for everybody listening, when you have a bad race, what does that mean? Kind of tell us what that means.
That's a good question. I hadn't really thought about that.
Because, some people, it's like, I just didn't hit the time. Well, why didn't you hit the time? What physically went on?
Well,
do you think?
To me, a bad race is kind of defined as not hitting your goal. In this case, I was nowhere near my goal. But sometimes it's hard to tell whether you're close to your goal or not, because in this case, it turns out it was rainy and cold. And we were, by the time we got started, I was numb by the time we started because it was so cold and rainy. And it turned cold and rainy just before the race started. So we kind of got warmed up under reasonable, nice feeling conditions. And then all of a sudden the temperature drops 10 degrees and you get wet. Yeah. And you're wet before you even start. And so that was really the first half mile of the race was absolutely miserable. I
bet.
But, but my goal was to finish. Time you can't really focus on.
Sure.
In this case, I wasn't really focusing on time. I was focusing on place. And I felt like I should finish in the top 3. And that was my goal. And I didn't. And so that makes it a less than great race. I was able to run hard, which is, you want to be able to feel like you did your best. And I feel like I did. And that was good. It's always a disappointment when you get to a race and you find out the course is completely different than you thought it was. I saw the map, but I hadn't been in that area in years. And it was way more hilly than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
So I didn't really prepare for that mentally or physically.
So you said you ran hard. So do you feel like you ran well? you were just disappointed in the place, or you feel like something was physically, you could have ran better?
I don't know that I don't think I could have run better. I think I ran as well as I could run that
So
day.
in that aspect, it was a good race. You ran hard.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it. Yeah. I think I did my best. I felt like that was, I may have been able to run a few seconds faster. I kind of got myself in no man's land.
Yeah.
There was a good distance between me and the next guy in front of me. There was a bunch of guys behind me though. There was about a half mile left to go. We made this turn, and I'd make it a policy to never look behind me. Except unless I can steal a glance, and if it makes sense, then I will. But otherwise, I don't.
Yeah.
Well, I turned that corner and I looked behind me, and there was a whole pack of dudes like right there, and it was like, oh no, I got to get on it.
Yeah.
But I ran. I actually pulled away from them a little bit over that last half mile. So yeah, I mean, I guess. Bad race. Maybe it's bad to say bad race. Maybe
I was going to say that's the danger in having outcome goals.
Yeah, that's true.
Or place goals.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we just don't know who's going to be there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But
I guess I'm looking at it that you had a good race, dude.
Yeah, well, I was proud of my effort, and I was proud of our team, and we're going to talk more about the whole team aspect here in a little bit. So
okay,
but good day. Post of the week comes from Greg Chance. He wrote this: upward running intermediate week 5, day 5, 16 miles easy. This one was a challenge. It wasn't too bad until the last few miles, but the difference between last week's 14 and 16 this was huge. One cool thing, about 6 miles in, another runner came by in the opposite direction, and we waved at each other. He was Sikh, and he was running with his turban. Kudos to him. That in itself is quite a feat, having this bulbous thing on your head. I have enough trouble with a cap. But yeah, those last few miles took it out of me for sure. Next Saturday will be 18 miles, so I guess the adventure continues. Another thing to mention is this has been my max volume week ever at 46 miles.
Wow. Kudos to Greg. He's pretty active on the social page.
He is.
On the app. And if you haven't been on the app yet, there's a lot of new things in there. Starting with the guided runs. You get to listen to me and Dean coach you while you're running, especially if you're in the 5K challenge. One thing I just approved last night was a share your run, so you don't have to do a screenshot and all that kind of stuff. When you get done your run, you hit save, you can hit share, and it goes right to social, and you can kind of share that with everybody. So a lot of cool things going on in the app. If you've not been in there, you're not a member yet, what are you waiting for?
Yeah, absolutely.
Go ahead and get in there and kind of ham it up with old Greg here. I've always tried to figure out, I wonder if that is a picture of Greg with what looks like an electric guitar, or if that's somebody else.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Greg, if
Surely
that's
it's him.
you, let us know. I'm curious to see if you're an electric guitar player.
Yeah. Well, there was a whole lot in this one too. You never know from day to day, week to week, how a day is going to go. And sometimes we have good days and sometimes we have bad days. I don't think that the problem this day was the extra 2 miles that he ran. I think it was just, we have good days, we have bad days, just like I was talking about with the race that I had. And so it's really, really good for us to realize that when we have a day that's not ideal, that we can kind of bank it. If there's something we can do to improve or get better, great. If we can learn from it, great. But otherwise, let it go and move on. And it sounds like he's doing that in this case. And he's got that 18-miler next week, so I hope his 18-miler does well. The second thing, the interesting things you see while you're out running, I wish I could think of all the crazy things I've seen out running, but I've seen a lot of stuff. But I don't remember. I think I have seen 1 or 2 people running with a turban on their head, maybe in some races. I've never seen it out, on a daily run or anything. So that's really really interesting.
Yeah.
I never thought about that. I guess maybe I have, because I've seen women who that it's part of their religious practice not to wear shorts, and so they wear these big culottes or skirts or something to run in. I've seen that, and so they stick out when you see them. But kudos to them for doing it anyway. There's the Buziani. She's a steeplechaser, and she's Muslim, and she's a professional, and she's really, really good. But she wears, completely covered up in these races in the Olympics. She was in the Olympics that way. And, again, that's an extra thing she has to kind of overcome. And she does that because of what she believes. And, but I looked at this and I thought, I don't, the turban thing, I don't understand. Is the turban just a religious thing? And I don't want to say just a religious thing as if religious thing isn't a big deal, but it turns out that the turban also signifies kind of sometimes, depending on why you're wearing it, it's a thing about your place in the community. Like it could be a scholastic thing. Yeah. It could be what your job is. There's other things that it could be. And so I thought that was interesting. It's kind of a tribal thing, I guess you'd say. Yeah. So anyway, that's kind of interesting to me. And what a cool thing to see out running. And then the last thing, this was his maximum volume week at 46 miles. That's a big accomplishment.
It's a big week.
46 miles that's a good week. Yeah. And so congratulations to Greg, because he has been faithful for sure. He's been doing well.
Yeah, good job, Greg.
Our run of the week comes from none other than Travis Vaughn. I had to put this in here. Travis, as you know, is our, what's his official title? For
I don't know. I don't look much at titles, but he kind of heads up the marketing and several other things at Upward. And he's our resident. He's one of our resident runners. We've got a lot of runners at Upward.
Yeah, we do.
But he's one of the faster ones for sure.
Yeah. Well, this is he posted on Strava, Columbus Marathon, big day, goal met. Got choked up after finishing. 7 years of work with lots of people helping along the way. Proud of this one. Tough, less than ideal conditions, but in the end, a fitting way to meet a big achievement. 2.5 or so minutes under the buffer for Boston.
Yeah. So he ran 3:07.
Yeah.
Which is quick.
Yes.
I mean, that's just over 7 minute pace.
That's right.
And so nice job, Travis.
Yeah.
Yeah, he crushed it.
And he's right. He has worked on this.
He has.
This has been something. He's had setback after setback. He's had
injuries,
lots of minor injuries along the way that's, made him take a month or two off, and he gets back to it. And he's been doing some strength training, and he credits that strength training to his success here to a large degree. And that's great. But anyway, I looked at his Strava, all the splits and everything. He did a really nice job of doing a very well-paced race. He finished around the pace that...
And he was in the rain, too.
Yes.
It was driving rain.
Wind.
But he talked about, I don't know if he told you this, but there was one point where it was uphill, kind of in the driving rain. The wind was into him, and he said it felt like he was crawling.
Yeah.
And I forget what mile marker this was, but he's always struggled with... that's just demoralizing. And it's hard to get back to pace after something like that. And he said that's the thing he was most proud about, was he was able to get that, make the turn to where the wind wasn't in his face, and then get back to the pace that he needed to be at, which is a hard thing to do.
It is a hard thing to do.
Everything in you is saying, I blew it.
Yeah.
But it's just, it could be 1 or 2 minutes maybe. But we build it up in our head that this race is over. I need to just mail it in. So kudos to Travis.
And a BQ now, which stands for Boston Qualifier. Now, when you qualify for Boston, when you run a time that is a BQ time, a Boston qualifying time, it doesn't necessarily mean you get in.
Right.
It's the people who are the furthest under that Boston qualifying time that get in first. And so his goal was to finish at least 5 minutes under his BQ time, and he finished 7 minutes under. And so that should be a good buffer. Yeah. The only time that it's ever been that you had to be faster than 7 minutes under was in 2021, which I believe the field was only half the normal size because of COVID then. Yeah. So
and everybody had more time to train.
That too.
The times that were there were even. It's kind of one of the cruelties of Boston. Yeah. It's like, I made a Boston qualifier. Oh, but you just thought you were getting in. So.
Yeah, that is really rough. That is a rough thing.
Yeah.
But
so another run we'll talk about for just a second. One of my pastors, Thomas Queen, who he just recently qualified for Boston or he is in. I think the times came out and he is definitely in.
Yeah.
But he ran Chicago and he was wanting to run, I think, 310, 315, somewhere in there. And he said 5 miles in, he knew it wasn't going to happen. So he just decided to make it a fun run. And he actually had him and his wife are the ones that moved to Africa and started a ministry there. So he knows, I think it's Swahili, the language.
Yeah.
Well, he just happened to be running and he saw a group of girls cheering on and they had that South Africa flag or whatever that indicated that they knew Swahili and they were African American. And so he walked up to them and started talking to them in their native language. And he said they just freaked out, got their picture made. And so he turned what could have been a bad run into just a great experience.
Yeah.
Kudos to him as well.
Absolutely. Because that's hard to do sometimes. When you have this big goal and then it's not going well.
He still wound up running 340.
Yeah.
And that was goofing off on the course.
Yeah.
Spectators. So
good for Thomas.
Yeah.
That's a good fellow right there.
Yeah.
All right, our trivia question from last week. What is the most popular race distance in the United States? This one I thought was pretty easy, but we learned this when we did the Run at the Mill. We had 3 races on that same day. We had a 5K, a 10K, and a half marathon. And we saw this played out in real time.
Sure.
About half of the people that would come were usually 5K runners, probably a little over half.
Yeah, a little over half, yeah.
And then the next most popular one was the half marathon, not the 10K.
Right.
You would think that if most people want the shorter one, then probably the next one is the more, but it's not. It's the half marathon is the second most popular distance in the United States. And the 10K is third, which surprises me a little bit. I would have thought
the marathon.
The marathon was third. And I think the marathon will probably overtake the 10K, but there's still a very small percentage of people in this country that have run a marathon. Mm-hmm. They say that it's probably 0.1%.
Wow.
Which is surprising to me. It feels like more people have run a marathon than that to me. I mean, that says that if you're in a group of 1,000 people, you're the one. Yeah, that's 1 out of 1,000.
So that would be 300,000 people in the United States. If there's 300 million people, that would be 300,000. Is my math right?
I guess that makes sense. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That kind of tracks if you think about it.
Yeah.
I mean, think about all the marathons, and the typical marathon is a few hundred. I mean, the Boston and New York, those are the anomalies. Your typical marathon's only got a few hundred people in it. So, yeah, that kind of tracks, I guess.
Well, and you get a lot of people who run multiple marathons,
Sure.
and so you can't just add up all those
Right.
numbers. And yeah, I guess so. Anyway, if you have ever run one, even 5Ks, the number of people who've run a 5K is pretty small. It's less than 5%, I think, of people. I think that's what I had. So it's, if you're between 5 and 10%. Is what the estimate is of number of people who've run a 5K in the country. So if you're in a group of 20 people, only 1 or 2 of them have run a 5K. Yeah. So if you've done that, or if you're on your way to doing that, you are among the elite, and that makes you that should make you feel pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Upward Sports equips churches to run self-sustaining sports ministries in their communities. Whether you're a sports fanatic or on staff at a church, Upward Sports will give you all the tools you need to run a first-class sports ministry that allows you to reach families in your community. Upward Sports offers basketball, soccer, flag football, cheerleading, volleyball, baseball, and softball through league and camp offerings. At Upward Sports, we want to help your church make a difference and give you increased opportunities to share the gospel. Learn more today at upward.org. That's upward.org.
All right, don't forget that we need stories.
Yep.
It's hard to do this podcast without stories. It's got the whole thing kind of revolves around a story, and so we need to hear your story. So please Send us in your stories. We hear so many great stories from people spoken to us.
Sure.
But we never see them in writing. A lot of these stories we never see in writing. And so if you're one of those who, if we were to get together and we were to start talking running, and you've got some kind of a story that you would share with me if we just met somewhere,
right,
write it down.
Yeah.
Put it on paper.
There's still a salvation story up in Pennsylvania we're waiting on.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, there is. Yeah. Yeah. Should be coming any day.
I'm sure.
All right. This comes from Canadian Running. By the way, before we go on any further, let me say this about the magazine, the Canadian Running magazine. I don't know why, but Canadian Running magazine, I find a lot more stuff on there that's useful than I do in Runner's World. Runner's World is the most popular publication in the world. It's the #1 running publication in the United States.
Most popular running publication.
Yes. But Canadian Running, to me, is better. So come on, pick up your game, Runner's World.
I wonder why that is. Have you ever seen Canadian commercials?
No.
Very different
Yeah.
than the U.S. Because, Holly and I will watch Heartland, which is a Canadian show. And so I'll get a VPN and I will put my location as Canada so that I can watch it on their network. And the commercials are so cheesy.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they're 30 years behind us in commercials. So
well, maybe that's the problem with Runner's World is they're too far ahead. That's
yeah.
I don't want to be too critical. They do some good stuff, but I really do enjoy the Canadian Running publication. This British woman sets new 24-hour world record. In France, the top 3 women in this race all ran beyond the former world record. Sarah Webster is her name. She ran 173 miles in 24 hours. She broke the record by about 5 miles.
Wow.
In the men's event, the guy, he ran 183 miles, which wasn't the record. The record is 198 miles in 24 hours. That is just incredible to me. That's Alexander Sorokin of Lithuania. He's a very popular name. But I wanted to bring this up because the 3 ladies that broke the record, Sarah Webster, Holly Ranson, and Miho Nikata, I've never heard any of the 3 of them. And they're all 3 running under the world record. And it kind of underscored to me how little we pay attention to these ultra athletes. I mean, that's 8:18 pace for 24 hours, including breaks and everything. 8:18 pace. The men's record is 7:15 pace for 24 hours. And that is great. I mean, it's just such an accomplishment to be able to do those kinds of things. And yet we don't know these athletes' names. I would argue that what Alexander Sorokin and Sarah Webster have done is way better than your average NFL quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
And yet we know all of them, right?
But then you have the races like what's the 250 race, the out west. Anyway, you have these races that are insane.
Western states.
No, the 250, I'll find it up. I'll find it in a minute. But it's 250 miles.
Yeah.
How is that not talked about on the nightly news?
Yeah.
I mean, just completing that isn't. I mean, it's like 3 days of being awake.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's crazy. Interesting fact about or not interesting fact, interesting coincidence. Travis, speaking of Travis, he called me last week or the week before last, and he said, "Hey, wasn't that a treadmill run? I ran the 50 miles on a treadmill for a charity years ago." He said, "Wasn't that on a treadmill in Dalton?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm listening to a guy on a podcast right now who ran like 130 miles on a treadmill in Dalton, Georgia." And he said his name, and I forgot his name already, but I said, "Yeah, that was the year after I did it. I did it the first year Greg did it. Greg did it the second year, and this guy was with him. And he broke some kind of record. It wasn't a world record, but it was some kind of record for doing 130 miles on a treadmill in 24 hours. So that was just a big coincidence.
Yeah.
Wow. Travis was like, what are the odds? that I'm listening to this.
That is crazy. Yeah. Well, it makes me worry about society to some degree because we don't celebrate great things anymore. We celebrate regular, ordinary things, which is okay to some degree. But our reason for celebration sometimes these days is not good. We'll celebrate some celebrity who does something over somebody who does something great. Yeah. And I don't know. Makes me worry. Anyway.
The Cocodona 250 is the one I was thinking. It's the one Chad Wright did.
Yeah, I was going to say, the only reason I know that is because he did it.
Yeah, it's a pretty big race from what I'm looking at. But.
Yeah. But again, to that point, I know running. I pay attention to running.
Yeah.
And I don't know one of the bigger races in the ultra world because the ultra world is just kind of hidden.
Yeah, like the Barclays. I mean, we know about it because we're in this world, but I mean, if you really just break that down, even people that don't know anything about running will say, yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's almost unbelievable
that
people do that, and they do.
Yeah, yeah. Yes, it's kind of sad for those ultra running folks, but it's pretty cool that they do it anyway, even though there isn't all that adulation and support that they get from the world. They do it for their personal achievement, satisfaction, which is cool.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, this next story brings to mind many great adventures from my running life. Even though it doesn't talk about running, she's talking about cycling here. But cycling, running, they're like brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And we can make things way more interesting. Weather can make things way more interesting. And this proves it. So this is from Rhonda Williams. She says, it's called Faith to Weather the Storm. I pulled into the parking lot to meet our cycling group for the weekly training ride and noticed dark clouds off in the distance. Uh-oh, I thought, this doesn't look good. The group leader insisted we would have time to complete the ride before the rain started, but I had a feeling we were going to get wet. I mounted my bike, said a brief prayer for strength, and safety as we rolled out of the parking lot. Halfway through the ride, the rain started to fall and the wind strengthened. The intensity of the storm increased with each mile, and I strained to see the road as the rain pelted my face. The wind whipped around me, making it a challenge to maintain control of my bike. I whispered another prayer that God would keep us safe. Then I had to have faith. Just a few miles from the parking lot, I heard a loud crack of thunder that sounded like it was right on top of us. It startled us, and we picked up the pace. I continued to pray. Finally, I could see my car in the distance and felt a sense of relief. We made it. Thank you, Lord. God did not hold off the storm or decrease its intensity until we finished. No, instead, He protected and guided us through it. He gave us the strength and wisdom to negotiate the roads under challenging conditions. He used this experience to increase my faith. I can do hard things, but only if I trust Him. The storms of life, just as in nature, are inevitable. A sea captain will turn his ship to face a storm head on when caught unexpectedly. The boat will be better able to ride out the storm safely that way. It may capsize if the waves hit it from the side. Sometimes God chooses not to quiet the storm. Instead, He asks us to face it head on, as the ship captain does, and just as I did on my bike. The storm is a divine tool to strengthen, teach, and test us. The question is, do we have enough faith to weather the storm? I love this story.
That's a great story, Rhonda.
Most of the time when you hear a story like this, it's, well, God did this thing and He held the storm off for us. Mm-hmm. And yeah, is that a thing? Yeah, it's a thing for sure. But I like the idea of, well, sometimes He just wants us to go through the storm.
Yeah.
And it's a great thought. You know, this past week, did you hear the thing about the South Africa, the Cape Town Marathon? Mm-mm. Cape Town Marathon, it's a big marathon. As a matter of fact, it's so big that they have talked about making it another one of the world majors. And this past weekend, they canceled the race an hour and a half before the start.
Really?
And they canceled it because of high winds. And it turned out that at race time, they didn't have high winds or nothing unusual. And they just panicked, to me, is what they did. And this They also, in addition, they ran a 10K that day. They decided to go ahead with the 10K race, but didn't do the marathon. And I don't know the full story, but I feel like this is the opposite of what Rhonda is talking about. This whole idea of what I call safetyism, the idea that we should never be at risk. And if there's any risk at all, we should not do a thing. Again, I don't know their motivation behind this other than what they said. They talked about the high winds and canceling. And they said that the finish line and the start line had blown over. The weird thing about this, and this goes back to, I think, how we got to think about these things, is that this is a normal thing in South Africa. These winds are normal. It's something they've got a name for it. I can't remember what it is, but there's a name for these winds because it's a normal thing. You would think there would be a contingency plan for when this kind of thing happens, but apparently there wasn't. And again, we can never eliminate risk. And if we're trying to do that, we are missing out on great things. And there are people who traveled to South Africa, I'm sure, from many miles away and spent thousands of dollars to be there, only to be told an hour and a half beforehand that they're not going to be able to run their race. And I feel for those people. I don't understand why we can't have a choice, at least in a lot of these cases.
Sure.
Let people, tell them we're worried, but you've signed a waiver. You understand, and I'm going to go run this race. But anyway, I don't know.
And it just makes me think, have the race directors gotten so far away from the running community that they don't understand? Because, as runners, as cyclists like Rhonda, triathletes, anybody that does endurance type exercises out in the weather, there's a bolt in their head that they like that.
Yes.
I'll never forget when I ran the Albany Marathon. There were literally, and I'm not exaggerating, tornado sirens going off during the race. They knew this weather was coming. The aid stations, the water cups were there, the coolers were out. You could get it if you wanted, but the volunteers were gone. Mm-hmm. I remember with our junior triathlon team, one thing that we wave as a flag of honor is we never one time in 10 years canceled a practice. Now, sometimes we stayed up under a shelter for 10 minutes till the storm passed. And I remember times where we were getting on people's front porches on long rides because we thought a tornado was about to touch down. All of those experiences, while there is risk, yes, but we have a choice, to your point. They make you, we're doing the some ambassador meetings with Upper right now, and you gave a devotion yesterday about doing hard things. You're going to give it 2 more times today. We need more of that talked about because, to your point, as a society, we're saying we need everything to be easier. We don't.
Yep.
Our walk with Christ is not going to be easy. So we need to subject ourselves every day to hard things by choice, because we're going to be subjected to hard things that are not our choice. And if we're not tempered for that, we're going to crumble under the weight of that.
Yep.
I've already made the decision. I just talked about at the beginning of this episode that it was cold on my walk down to my quiet time this morning. I do my quiet time. It's actually a deer stand, but it's like a shooting house. It's a covered thing, and it's got a little heater in it, but there's no power. I don't take a phone. And I've already started to prepare myself for those 17-degree mornings. I'm going to go down there.
Yeah.
It's going to be but that is one of those things that you come back. Like this morning, I came back into a warm house. I turned the gas logs on, and it was like, that was so worth it.
Yeah.
One, the time with God alone, quiet, with no phone, no distractions, that's worth it in and of itself. But the fact that it was hard, we need more of that. We can talk about this for hours, and we do talk about this frequently, but we need to hear it frequently.
Yeah, we do. We do. It's really easy these days to go through life with no resistance. Anybody can do it, but we need to create some resistance for ourselves. We need to purposefully take on some of these harder things on purpose. Now, if you feel like I don't think it's worth it, and I don't want to go out there, and I don't want to go run in the rain, fine. That's up to you. That's up to you. We're not saying that you have to do it, but choosing to do it can make
something else hard to do.
Yeah, that's right.
Make sure you're doing hard things.
Yep.
At least once a day.
Yep. Just don't run into lightning. Just avoid the lightning. That's the one thing that I will always say: avoid the lightning.
And we've been caught out in lightning before.
We have.
And we talk about it often.
Then he got into the boat, and his disciples followed him. Suddenly, a furious storm came up on the lake, so that the waves swept over the boat. But Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him, saying, "Lord, save us. We're going to drown." He replied, "You of little faith, why are you so afraid?" Then he got up and rebuked the winds and the waves, and it was completely calm. Of course, that comes from Matthew in chapter 8. Isn't this the point? I thought about this, and I thought, why is Jesus sleeping in this moment to start with? You got this storm raging. Why is he sleeping? And I thought there were two things the Bible is trying to tell us here. First of all, that Jesus is fully human. Mm-hmm. He's exhausted. He's been preaching all day. He's tired. He needs some sleep. But the second thing is how fully he trusted his Father in this moment, was that he didn't need to worry about it.
Well, I'll take it a step further. 365 or so times in the Bible, Scripture says, "Do not fear. Do not be afraid." So that's a commandment to us. Which tells me that if you do it, that's a sin. Jesus never sinned. So Jesus never feared. I think in the Garden of Gethsemane, there was maybe a hint of dread, but I don't think it fell into the category of fear.
Yeah.
And so if something's going on and you don't fear it, even a little bit, you can sleep through it.
Yeah.
So
way to put it.
I don't know. I think that was just a vivid reminder to these disciples, and it's easy to throw rocks at these disciples saying he just got done feeding 5,000 people. You've seen him heal the lame and make the blind see and bring people back to life. How in the world can you not understand that you're okay when you're around him? And it's easy to throw those rocks, but we do it all the time. We see miracles all around us, if you really think about them, that are just as amazing as what those disciples were seeing.
Yep.
Yet we just throw them to the side and, oh God, we've never been here before. I'm fearful. There's nothing new.
And I can picture this situation where the storms are raging, and at first they're like, "Well, Jesus is not worried, so we're not going to be worried. He's not worried." And then it goes on a little longer, and you're like,
"Is he alive?
Should we be worried?"
Yeah.
And then it's like, guys, seriously, this has been going on for a while now. We should probably be worried.
There's water coming over the boat.
Yeah. And they get, you can probably feel that. So, and that's what we do. It's what we do. We panic, I think. Romans 4:20 and 21. Yet he did not waver through unbelief regarding the promise of God, but was strengthened in his faith and gave glory to God, being fully persuaded that God had power to do what he had promised. This is talking about Abraham. And of course, the Bible says it was counted to him as righteousness, meaning that the faith that he had in God was so powerful for him that he trusted him fully. Of course, he fathered a child at 100, so you got to be pretty. It's amazing. But I like this idea of being fully persuaded that God had the power to do what he had promised. I guess the question for me, this would really hit me when I read this, was, am I fully persuaded? Not am I mostly persuaded, but am I fully persuaded that God has things? Because if we are panicking, if we are fearful, as you were just saying, then our can we say we are fully persuaded? It doesn't seem like it to me.
Faith and fear can't coexist.
That's right.
They can't. If you're fearful, that is a lack of faith, and that is a sin. It's hard to say because, I mean, I do it all the time. But yeah, I mean, if you're fully living in faith, you will not fear. The moment fear creeps in is the moment your faith starts to walk out the back door.
Yep. That's a good way to put it. James 1:3, for you know that the testing of your faith produces steadfastness. Of course, this is right after the verse that says, count it all joy when you fall into various trials.
Sure.
And this is why we should count it all joy when things are tough. It doesn't say, hey, when things are tough, look on the bright side. Try to find the good in it. It says, count it as joy. That's different. That's saying, revel in the fact that it's hard. When you run into a hard thing, be glad that you have a hard thing to do.
Yeah, and in the Beatitudes, Jesus says, blessed are those. You are blessed. That's hard to think about. Blessed are those who are persecuted for my name's sake. We don't see that as a blessing.
No.
But Jesus says it in red letters, blessed are you when you are persecuted and mocked and abused and everything for my name's sake. And Paul reaffirms that later by saying, count it all joy. I do. I'm singing and talking to the guards in prison and trying to lead them to Christ. That's a different mindset that I want to say is next level, but it's not next level.
Yeah.
It should be the baseline by which we live, but for we don't. And again, I've said this a million times in the past. We get this concept when it comes to training. We know that the hard thing that we do today, the pain, the isolation, the potential risk for injury, all this is going to yield something better tomorrow. But we don't have that same frame of reference when it comes to the trials that God is allowing us to walk through today. And that's the key thing.
Yeah.
He's allowing us to walk. Nothing happens to us that God doesn't allow.
That's right.
So we can see it as a blessing if we choose to, but we don't.
Well, this past weekend, when that rain rolled in earlier than we thought it was going to start raining maybe during the race, but it rained before the race.
Yeah.
And you could see the look of dread on people's face. Like, oh, man. Do you know what my attitude was?
What you always told the kids.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. My attitude is, this is great. I normally run well.
It's a competitive advantage.
That's what I always said. Yeah. It's a competitive advantage to be running in poor conditions, whatever that may be. In this case, cold and windy and rainy is poor conditions. And to me, that was like, oh, good. I got a better chance now.
Yeah.
Because these other folks are going to worry about it and think, oh, no, I hate this.
I'll never forget. We need to have this picture up somewhere because it is a great reminder. But you always told the kids that. And it's for that reason that we never canceled a practice. If it was driving rain and we were supposed to have a bike workout, we were having the bike workout. Now, was there a risk that there could be more wrecks? Yes. But you know what? They don't cancel triathlons. That's one thing you can say about the sport of triathlon.
That's true.
They don't cancel.
Nope. Not
and
unless
they're on
lightning.
bikes with slick tires.
Yep.
And so we always practiced through that. Now, obviously, if it was lightning, we would pull them off
and hold off.
But if you're out 20 miles from the cars, guess what? You're navigating the lightning, or you're getting on somebody's front porch that you don't know.
Yeah.
But one of the greatest pictures that I can think of is Lane in Richmond, Virginia. It was probably one of the best races he ever had. And he's coming out of transition, and it is an absolute toad strangler.
Yeah.
I mean, it is raining so hard, and it's just a great picture that he was completely ready for that.
Yep.
Because he had subjected himself to it. And there's a very spiritual parallel there. That the more you do for Christ, the more hardships he's going to allow in your life. And so the stronger you're going to be. It's kind of like I know I'm getting long-winded here, but going back to Denise Ziegler years ago, when is running going to get easier? look back.
Yep.
That 30 seconds or 60 seconds that you did on week 1 is now nothing. So that got easier.
That's
and
right.
that is such a metaphor for our spiritual life.
Amen. Be happy for rough seas.
Yep.
Question. People generally respond to an unexpected storm in one of 3 ways. Number 1, with hesitancy and fear. We could have given up and called someone to pick us up, but we didn't. Number 2, with determination to endure. We weren't happy about the situation, but we were determined to get through it. We didn't quit. And number 3, with excitement. These people view it as a test of strength and faith and charge ahead, ready to prove themselves. And the question is, how do you approach an unexpected challenge? Do you ask God to quiet the storm or give you strength to get through it?
I think if it's on my fitness journey or just life in general, it's number 3.
Yeah.
My faith journey, I would say it's moving towards a 3. It's not, it's not there, but I can look back and see where it once was a 1.
Yeah, it's true.
But I understand it.
Yeah.
From a knowledge standpoint, from an intellectual standpoint, we get it. It should be a 3. But why it's not is just one of life's great mysteries to me.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And I'm the same way. If it's running related,
bring it on.
Bring it, yes. The
harder, the better.
Yes, yes, that's great. Again, this past weekend, I was genuinely happy to be freezing at the beginning of that race. But, another one I think about, when it snows outside, I can't wait to go out and run when it snows. Yeah. I love running in the snow. I will alter the time of day that I run to run while it's coming down because I just think it's that much fun to do. But when it comes to intellectual things, I'm a lot more timid. When it comes to spiritual things, I'm a lot more timid. And we shouldn't be.
Another great metaphor is that rucksack right there. There's 65 pounds in that rucksack, and I look forward to throwing it on my back and going out for a 3, 4, 5 mile hike. And my goal is, what is my goal? To put more weight in it.
Yeah.
But let's put that sack and let's put the label spiritual matters on it.
Mm.
What do we find ourselves making our goal?
Let's take
weight out.
Yep.
Why? Dean?
It's a good question and one that I don't have an answer for. But you're right. That's our
Jesus who modeled this. We have Paul who modeled this. We have all the disciples who died as martyrs. I mean, the definition of dying as a martyr is you kind of did it by choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why can we not put those parallels together?
I don't know, but that's really convicting at this point.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. Bring to mind a time when God challenged you. How did you handle it? What did you learn? What would you do differently now? I think I talked about this not too long ago. The Myrtle Beach Marathon in 2013, I was very sick a few days before the race time. So sick that I actually went to the doctor on the way to the race. But the hay was in the barn. I had this really good buildup. I felt like I was ready for a race, although physically my body was a little weak. But I thought, you know what? Let's go out there and let's try it anyway and see how it goes. And maybe that little extra race helped. Mm-hmm. Maybe that, I tend to drink Gatorade when I get sick. Uh-huh. Maybe that little bit extra Gatorade topped off my glycogen stores, and that's what helped me all the way to the finish. But at the same time, I spent the first 18 miles of that race thinking, well, if and when it hits me and I have to slow down, it's okay. It's understandable. It just never did. It never did hit me. But that was a time that I felt challenged physically. From a spiritual standpoint, I think I shared that I had some, I don't want to say, but I had some, I don't want to say, but I had some, 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 some doubts about continuing teaching a Sunday school class that I've been teaching for, I don't know, somewhere between 15 and 20 years. But what I was doing was I was allowing Satan to get in my head and to convince me of things that were not true. And that's what happens when we open ourselves up to not being willing to weather a storm, is we start to make excuses on why we should pull ourselves out of the storm, when in reality, we should just be bracing for the wind and the rain that's in our face and finding a better way to handle it. And, I think right now for me, in my running, it's a really challenging time for me. What I ran this past weekend was not what I thought I could do. And so the question is that a thing that I need to just accept? And you know me.
I don't say that happening.
I'm not wired that way. And so what am I going to do? I'm going to try to find some other ways to get there. I have found that over the years, I have to tweak what I do from a training standpoint. Every once in a while, as I get older and my body changes, I have to figure out a new way. And I'm at that point. I got to figure out a new way. And I'm on my way to doing that. And that's the way we need to handle these. When we're challenged, don't give up. Don't pull yourself out of the storm. Find a better way to handle the storm.
Mm-hmm. That's well put.
Last question. Have you ever thanked God for a challenge?
Yeah.
Definitely. After it's over, usually.
Yeah.
We don't usually thank him in the moment. But I really, truthfully, James chapter 1 is probably, it may be the scripture that comes to my mind more than any other thing in the Bible is James chapter 1. Mm-hmm. Because when things get hard, you can't help but to think about it.
I mean, you look back, gosh, when you said that, and it's just because I read it again or listened to it again last week, but, I think about times in my life where tragedies in the moment were some of the things I'm most thankful for. My dad's cancer diagnosis, which ultimately took his life. The title that I put on his eulogy that I wrote was "Cancer Saved His Life," because cancer is what ultimately brought him to the foot of the cross. I think about the housing crisis of 2008. It was a horrible time in our family's life. But had that not happened, Run for God would have never started. And you and I wouldn't be sitting here. There's so many things. And that's the beauty of that rearview mirror. Yes, the windshield's much bigger. But look back on your life and look at the things that in the moment, we say things like, it can never get any worse. This is the most horrible thing in your life. And so many times, those are waypoints in your life looking back that, man, I'm glad that happened because my life changed there. I made a shift in trajectory, and it's what got me to where I am now. And if you're going through one of those things right now, look back. Look back. And if you don't have anything to look back on, maybe you're listening to this and you're not a believer. And you're going through one of these things right now. Maybe God's got you listening to this podcast for that very reason, that this is going to be the first faith waypoint in your life. If that's you, go to upwardrunning.com/peace with God and learn how you can make this the first and most important waypoint on your journey with Christ. But yes, as believers, I sheepishly say we get this because tomorrow I'm going to go through a hard thing and it's like I'm going to forget it. Yeah. But we get it. We look back and we say, those challenges are some of the most things those challenges I'm often are most thankful for, even over some of the victories in my life.
Yep. And one last thing that I think is important to note about these challenges that come up. I mentioned that when something comes up and it's running related, I embrace it wholeheartedly and quickly because that is my strength. But when the evil one attacks us, he doesn't attack us on our strength. He attacks us on whatever our weakness is. And I think that's important to keep in mind because we need to be ready for him to attack the weak part of our life, not we need to be ready for the strong part too, but we need to keep in mind that that's where he's going after us. And so when things go wrong in that weak area, We really, really got to be ready for those things.
And you got to be prayed up. I mean, just this morning, I prayed on an area, and I'll be transparent here, my thoughts. I was really praying, God, take captive my thoughts, because that's where I struggle. My mind wanders. It's probably some of the podcasts I listen to that just get me off, conspiracy and the world's coming to an end and everything's horrible. And that's my weakness. And so that's where the devil, he will set in there and just make me think that everything's over, when there is way more good in this world than bad.
Amen.
But we tend to park on, if it bleeds, it leads. And that's my mentality. That's, if it bleeds, it's what I'm thinking about. It's what I want to talk about. And it's just not good. So you got to voice those things. Yep. I mean, my prayer this morning was, God, captivate my thoughts. Help me to think on good things of you, things that are holy, not on the things that our society say we need to put as a priority.
Go on offense, not just defense.
Sure.
Do you need something to keep you motivated to keep fit both physically and spiritually? Upward Running has what you need to keep you on track for both. Check out upwardrunning.com and join us for pennies a day. I promise you, you will not regret it. All right, we're back. This is a little bit of a disturbing thing that happened. This is according to Canadian Running. Again, runner has medical episode, gets handcuffed at Toronto Waterfront Marathon. So they had the Toronto Waterfront Marathon this past weekend, and for this one guy, it came to a pretty harsh halt when this guy collapsed just over a kilometer from the finish line. And then apparently some people were trying to help him. And then we don't know exactly what happened to the guy, but apparently he didn't know where he was. And what was weird about it is when this happened, he was kind of, the fencing, that metal fencing that they'll use a lot of times for races to separate. Well, they had people, I guess, running in both directions. So they had this fencing set up in the middle of the road. So this guy found himself inside of one of those fences, and it looked like he was trapped in a cage. And so it looked like to me that this guy is kind of out of it, doesn't kind of know where he's at. And all of a sudden, these people are trying to get him to do something, and they're grabbing hold of him and stuff. And the guy starts to panic, and he tries to jump the fence, and you can't jump that fence because it's not very sturdy. And anyway, he just looked like a caged animal. It was scared to death. And they wound up throwing the guy on his stomach and handcuffing the guy because of, they don't know what to do with the guy. And I, from a policeman standpoint, I get that they didn't know what to do and that they're just trying to get the guy to calm down. And they thought maybe this was the way to do it. But I felt so bad for him. A bystander said, I saw him fall into the barricade where the medic team was, and they caught him and held on to him. He tried to go back to keep running, but they weren't letting him, which I think was the first mistake. And then the runner fell on the ground. He was having full body convulsions. Then he got up and moved into the corner of the barricade, trying to punch the medic team. That's when I saw the cop approach him, holding a taser behind his back. And that's where they handcuffed him. And anyway, they're saying that the guy had a seizure. That could be what happened. And that he kind of woke up, didn't know where he was. And anyway, this is a really hard thing to figure out. What's the best way to handle something like this?
Yeah.
I'll never forget when I was 18, 20 years old, when I was running the Peachtree Road Race one time. We were done with the race. We were in Piedmont Park. And this guy comes running by us, not fast, just running by at a normal pace, running by us. And a lady is chasing him. And she was clearly from the medical field. And she said, stop that man. I need that man. And so me and another guy kind of ran after the guy, and we're running on both sides of him and saying, hey, this lady needs to see you. Can you stop and come back? And the guy's like, I'm fine. There's nothing wrong with me. And he just kept running. I was 18, 20 years old. I didn't know what to do. And he seemed like he was okay to me. I let him go, and I came back, and we told the lady that he said he was okay, and he seemed okay. And she was like, he's not okay. He doesn't know where he's at and what he's doing right now. And I'm like, I didn't know what am I supposed to do about it?
You can't. Yeah, you can't put your hands on him.
Yeah. But I say all of that, these two different situations where it's really hard to figure out what to do. And I say that to say this: take your fueling and your race day plans very seriously, because the chances are, in the case of the first one at the Toronto half marathon, that guy, if he had a seizure, he probably had a condition that would lead to that kind of thing. The guy at the Peachtree Road race probably maybe wasn't as fit as he needed to be or whatever, and if the heat was affecting him in a way that he didn't know what he was doing, he was not prepared for it. Take those things seriously. And I think as men, this sounds sexist, but a lot of times men don't take things as seriously as women do. And sometimes women go the opposite. They're too concerned about the dangers. But especially if you have let's say you know that you have low iron. Well, low iron can cause several problems that can happen on race day. Know that ahead of time and be prepared for that kind of thing. And if you're in a situation where you could wind up like this, make sure you've got good identification on you and things like that as well. But just don't downplay and make sure you're ready for these things. I think that's the lesson I learned from this.
It makes you wonder. I've never thought about this till now when this come up, but it makes you wonder how they would handle things nowadays. Like, I'm thinking back to one of the most epic Ironman finishes in history.
Yeah.
Was I think it was Paula Newby Frazier and another lady. They were 100 yards from the finish line. This was the number one lady in the world, so this was for the win. And both of their bodies started shutting down. I mean, they couldn't stand up.
Yeah.
And they obviously they weren't in their right mind. I mean, they were checked out, but their training compelled them. They were crawling, rolling. I mean, they were having trouble even crawling. One of the most epic finishes in the history of the Ironman sport. And they were both fine in the end. How would medical teams and Ironman as a organization handle that today?
Yeah,
would they pull them off the course?
I'm afraid they might. Yeah. Although I don't know about the Ironman specifically, but triathlon in general seemed to be a lot more hardcore when it comes to that kind of stuff.
Yeah, because Alistair Brownlee just a few years ago.
Yeah.
When he was stumbling coming into the finish.
Yeah.
He was about to go down until his brother, ironically enough, came up and put his arm around him and
helped him,
pushed him across the finish line ahead of him. That was epic.
Yep.
The sport of triathlon has some pretty epic things that happen.
Yeah. They're a little more hardcore than the running community, I think. And I'm with you. And I think that I would not be happy if they stopped me and didn't let me finish something like that.
If I were 50 yards from the finish line to win the world championship and you pull me off the course without me saying pull me off the course, there's going to be problems.
If I was 50 yards from the finish line and I was finishing 1,000th and you pulled me off the course, I would not be happy. Yeah. It's a hard thing. Because I get the idea that we're concerned about people and that kind of thing, but it's rare that somebody gets in this kind of shape and they don't recover from it. And so I think you got to let people do what they want to do.
Because you do hear about, the one that sticks out is the Nashville Marathon when the guy died just before the finish line.
But typically when that happens, they collapse and they can't get back up.
That's true.
They're not trying to get back up.
But still, if you have that image in your head and you see somebody go down, I don't know. I I'm not going to say what's right or what's wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it's sticky.
And if you're a medical professional, you want to help people. That's what you're there for.
Yeah.
That's your job. That's what you feel like you should be doing. I get it. But man, that's tough. That's a tough
But
situation.
in this case, I can't see under any condition when cuffing the guy is the right thing.
Yeah, totally agree.
That was a little too far.
Well, it is time for Dean's Thoughts, and that's a time when I share something I've written about the intersection between running and faith. Well, you know, some people like to run alone, and others do not like to run alone. But there is good in both of those things. And so let's talk about it. This is called The Gift of Alone and Together. I'm often somewhat of a loner. Most of my runs are solo, and I genuinely cherish the quiet time I get to spend with my own thoughts. It's peaceful, restorative, and often helps me reset from the busyness of life. Yet just this past week, I joined the Chattanooga Track Club for a race and had an incredible time laughing, competing, and encouraging one another. On the surface, these two experiences, solitude and social connection, might seem to be opposites, but I see them as equally essential and beautifully compatible parts of a healthy life. Time alone is more than just empty space. It's an opportunity to recharge. If I ever feel overwhelmed or stressed, I almost always find that it's because my attention is divided or external pressures are weighing on me. Solitude acts as a pressure release valve. It removes the distractions and expectations of others and allows my mind and heart to settle. Beyond relieving stress, I find that solitude unlocks my creativity. In the quiet, my mind can wander. With no external opinions or social cues to steer my thoughts, I find myself exploring new ideas or uncovering solutions to problems I hadn't even articulated yet. It's in these moments that some of my most creative and meaningful insights are born. I often return from a solo run or an intentional period of quiet with a sense of inspiration and clarity that I simply cannot access in a group setting. Solitude can also strengthen relationships. The old saying, absence makes the heart grow fonder, is true for me. Taking regular intervals of time to be alone allows me to appreciate my friends and family more deeply when I reunite with them. It feels like an intentional rhythm of alternating solitude and connection that keeps relationships healthy and fresh. But as much as I value being alone, I know community is equally vital. Humans are wired for connection. We have a deep-seated need to belong. Sharing experiences, whether in running, faith, or life's daily challenges, builds bonds that sustains us. When I teamed up for that race, the shared excitement and camaraderie created memories and friendships that solo runs can't replicate. Community lifts us up, helps us see our strengths from new perspectives, and catches us when we stumble. Social interaction is also a powerful antidote to loneliness, anxiety, and depression. When we feel a part of something and we are supported, our mental and emotional well-being improves. Even in times when problem-solving and creativity start alone, it's often through conversation, encouragement, and feedback from others that our ideas become reality and take on deeper meaning. Community provides purpose as well. Achievements are sweeter when celebrated with others, and our sense of accomplishment is often magnified when we can share our journey with those who care about us. We aren't meant to live life entirely on our own. The balance of togetherness and solitude shapes us and adds richness to our stories. Running, in particular, illustrates this dynamic perfectly. Some days, the solo miles feed my soul. On other days, I crave the push and pull of running with friends or teammates, chasing collective goals. Some people can't imagine running alone. Others can't imagine running with a group. Recognizing that both are valuable and that our need for each may change over time helps us become more well-rounded, joyful runners and people. Even Jesus modeled this balance. He retreated to quiet places for prayer and reflection, finding renewal in solitude. Yet he also relentlessly pursued people, teaching, healing, and encouraging, and even sometimes admonishing them. His life was a rhythm of alone time and together time, and both were central to his ministry. The New Testament's richness comes from his relationships and his quiet moments of communion with the Father. We all need both solitude and connection. but how much of each varies from person to person and even from season to season. Those who are naturally introspective should remember to seek out the joy and support of community. Those who thrive in groups should intentionally practice solitude for deeper reflection. Finding this balance is not about following rigid rules. It's about listening, reflecting, and sometimes simply asking God for guidance. When we do, we can trust that He'll show us the unique mix that helps us flourish.
Wow. It's a great story, Dean. Community. It's been on my mind a lot lately.
Yeah, I know it has. And, these races, like this race where we run as a team, I love them. I have so much fun at these races. And I meet with Darren Lewis almost every week, every other week usually. And I really enjoy that time that we get together. Booker, when he comes back to Georgia, we usually find time to go for a run because that connection is good. But I have to force myself to do it because I'm the opposite guy. I'm the guy that enjoys the aloneness. So I have to force myself to become part of a community. There are other people who will not run on their own, who probably could use a good solo run every once in a while. It would be good for them.
Yeah. I think you and I are a good example of the opposites. Yeah. I'm an extrovert. I love being with people, and I have to force myself. It's the reason I go to my deer stand every morning to be alone, because I see the value in it. I see you got to have that to kind of reset and recenter yourself. You, on the other hand, even though most people would disagree, I know it to be true, you're an introvert. Even though you come on here and you seem like a very boisterous extrovert. But you have to force yourself to get in community sometimes, which is why it's great. I think probably teaching your Sunday school classes is one of the places where it's forcing yourself outside your comfort zone. So it's interesting. I've never thought about, I've done a lot of studying on scriptural community, a biblical worldview of community, and I've kind of drawn all through Scripture the idea of community, but I've never thought about the contrast when Jesus goes away to get alone to pray, and that's just a perfect picture of that contrast. We've got to have both ends of that to really be whole, because either one in isolation either one by itself, I should say, is not good.
Yeah. And Jesus did it really, I think He did it for multiple reasons, obviously.
Sure.
But a part of His reason was the same reason we need it today. Sometimes we need to be unplugged. And that was back then, that was the version of leaving your phone at home.
Right.
And
these disciples are getting on my nerves. I need to get away for a minute.
Yes. Because
not that's what He was thinking, but that's what I would be thinking.
But it is good. Sure. And then on the other side, if you thrive being alone, if you don't take the time to be with people, and being alone gets too comfortable, that is not good for you. That is not good for you at all. And so you gotta have both. And Jesus, again, He showed us how to do it.
Sure.
And I believe God wants us to connect with Him in two different ways. He wants us to connect. He wants us to be in the church. He wants to see those big worship settings where He loves those things. I'm sure that God cherishes those things. It puts a smile on His face. But don't you know that God has a warm spot in His heart every time we're on our knees by ourselves and we really connect with Him? That's got to be just as meaningful to Him.
Sure.
Have you always wanted to read through the entire Bible but never found the time to do it? Well, let me do it for you. Sign up for the self-paced Bible in a Year Challenge and start listening today. Every day, I read a few chapters from the Bible and give you helpful tips and encouraging quotes. You must be an Upward Running member for access to this exciting challenge. So if you're not a member, sign up today and get started. If you are a member, what are you waiting for?
Every week, I share a reason why running and or walking is so awesome. I love running and or walking, because you can literally do it until the day you die, basically. If you're a runner, there may be a time when you can't run anymore, but you can still continue to walk. This has always been a point of contention with me when people say that they can't. There are very few. If you can walk to your car to go somewhere, then you can walk.
Sure.
You may only be able to walk 100 yards at a time right now.
But tomorrow you can walk 110 yards.
That's right. That's exactly right. And yeah, and it's totally worth it. And you will, if you will do it, if all you can do is just do this little bit, and you'll do it. And then the next day you'll do a little bit more. And then the next day a little bit. And if you'll do that, you will feel better. That's not a you might feel better. You will feel better.
Just the other night, Landon and I, we got on one of those YouTube scrolls on on the TV, and we came across this video. It's like 15 minutes long, and it was a guy. I forget where he lives. He's 109 years old, African American guy, and still drives. Still goes to church every Sunday.
Wow.
His girlfriend is 91 years old, and he smokes 6 cigars a day.
Oh my gosh.
It was just such a he was a World War II vet, which, there's not many of those left.
Yeah.
And
wow.
I mean, he's not a runner or a walker, but he's not letting age be as an excuse, which so many of us do nowadays.
Yeah.
And it was just, you can probably look it up online, 109-year-old guy who still drives, because he's probably the only one of those.
Yeah, I'd say.
So,
yeah,
it's all what you make. I mean, he had just such an awesome outlook on life. He's like, when it's my time, God will take me off this earth. Until then, I'm doing what I've always done.
Yeah.
He drives like a 1970-something Ford truck. And
wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
But I laughed because he says, my girlfriend's, she's a lot younger than me. She's 91.
That's great. Oh, well, how about in the news this week? Jane Hedengren. I've talked about her before on here. Man, oh man, she's a freshman at BYU this year. She set all the high school records last year, and now she's at BYU, and she just ran her first cross country race, set a course record by a good bit at pre-nationals. This is not just some little meet. This is a huge meet with lots of competition, and she won by over 20 seconds. She is an amazing talent, and I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm going to predict that Jane Hedengren was going to be the first female athlete to be able to run with the East Africans at some point in the next 5 to 6 years. I say she's going to be able to compete with them. I think she's that good. I don't know what it is about this Jane that seems different to me than like the Mary Canes and the ladies in the past that have been so good. Even Parker Valby's. Jane is different. There's something about her, and I just think she's going to be able to do really well. So keep an eye on her. Yeah, at the BYU has two of the best coaches in the world. BYU has Diljit Taylor is the women's coach, so that's another reason why I think this is going to be good for her, because I think she's got the best female coach there is out there. And on the men's side, you got Ed Eyestone, who's Connor Mance's coach, and has coached a lot of great athletes. And it's interesting that one college has two great coaches, and most colleges don't have one.
Sure.
And one last thing, they have the enhanced games. We've talked about that before. This is they're going to have several sports where they're going to encourage athletes basically to take performance enhancing drugs and see if they can set world records and things like that. Anyway, there's been rightfully a lot of pushback against this thing, but it's still moving forward right now. Carl Lewis said, we need to quit giving this thing oxygen. We need to quit talking about it. And I get what he's saying. But, it's sort of like a train wreck. It's hard to look away from it because it's just kind of fascinating And I thought about it. I thought, the reason why we have banned substances to begin with is because we want the playing field to be even. We don't want some people on banned substances and some not. We don't want people taking advantage of these things. And the health drawbacks are part of it, but I think the biggest thing is to make things fair. Mm-hmm. Well, what's more fair than saying everybody can do whatever? Mm-hmm. And everybody knows it. Mm-hmm. So I'm not making the case that the enhanced games are a good thing. No. Not by any stretch of the imagination, but I thought about this. This is the natural outgrowth of two things. Number one, people looking for fame. People just, there's such a premium on being TikTok famous or in some way just having to be notarized. That's the wrong word. to be noticed in the world. And then the other thing is doing whatever we want despite drawbacks or whatever, just being able to do what we want to do regardless of who it might hurt or whether it hurts just us or whatever, just doing what we want. And this is what we get, to me, when we tell people that morality is relative and it's okay to go against what the Bible clearly tells us to stay away from. I'm not saying that these people who are doing this in these enhanced games are terrible people. That's not what I'm saying at all. There are still people who smoke, and I don't understand why people smoke. Mm-hmm. Frankly, I just don't understand it. But I don't think they're terrible people. Mm-hmm. I just think you're doing something that's not good for you.
Yeah.
But we look at these people in this enhanced game, and we think these are terrible people doing that. I think that's the way we look at it. I don't think it's any different.
Yeah.
And we have got to get back to, I think, a morality that makes sense and that is biblical. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of these things will go away if we'll do that. Yeah. What do you think?
About the enhanced game specifically, or just that whole mindset? Yeah,
just about the whole mindset of just being willing to do anything just to be recognized in some way is kind of a scary thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the age of social media and influencers, I don't think you and I are wired that way. We have our own faults, but I mean, yeah, there's a generation. I shouldn't say a generation because it cuts across all generations. There's a sector of people that they'll do whatever they need to do for clicks or likes or thumbs ups or whatever it is, and or they'll do anything to get ahead, and that really comes from a culture of success. Financial success in a lot of instances is the measure by which that's how we're ranked as a status.
Yeah.
And that is not biblical.
That's not a good.
I mean, I'm thinking about, you and I were talking before the podcast started about the AI, the Neuralink, the glasses, the meta glasses, robot. I mean, all these things are kind of coming to our society that the paranoid side of me is like, this isn't good. But what is it all for? It's our innate drive to somehow get ahead.
Yeah.
And we mask it by using words like efficiency and productivity, but at the end of the day, it's our desire to be vain, to get ahead and to do more than the other person. It's exactly why these enhanced games are here, because they're willing to do anything, and that's a destructive behavior that goes all the way back to Judas.
That's true. It's true.
Even before Judas. And we need to take a personal inventory sometimes, because I get there.
Yeah.
I do that.
We all do.
You do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important that we take inventory every now and then to say, okay, that's why it's important to have people in our life that will call that out, because you'll call that out in my life. Mm-hmm. I'll call it out in your life. Mm-hmm. that's destructive, and that ultimately pulls us away from Christ, because that same thinking is what says, I know better than God what I need in my life. And
I heard a quote this week that kind of illustrates this, and it's something that really hit me hard. The quote was, I hope I can get it at least close to accurate. The quote was, the line between good and evil isn't between us and them. It runs right down through the center of us. Meaning that we often think that things are good or bad based on our perspective and how things are, but there's good and bad in all of us. And that's biblical. That is biblical. And when we have to get to the point where everybody realizes that before we can heal the divide and the things that are going on in our country. And until we get there, until everybody is willing to decide to realize that there is good and bad in me, we're never going to get there. And we need more Jesus, more than ever.
Yep. Good word.
Our trivia question for this week. We've talked about this before. I don't think we've asked the question about it. So, how many races are considered officially world marathon majors? And then how about this? For an extra $5 off in the store, name all of the races that are included in the world marathon majors. How's that? And if you know the answer to that and you're a Upward Running member, then you can send that to dean@upward.org. And if you're the first person to answer that correctly, you will win that $20 or $25 in this case off in the store. Our motivational thought of the week comes from my favorite book, Once a Runner, that was written by John L. Parker Jr. He said this: what was the secret they wanted to know? In 1,000 different ways, they wanted to know the secret. And none of them was prepared, truly prepared, to believe that it had not so much to do with chemicals and zippy mental tricks as with that most unprofound and sometimes heart-rending process of removing, molecule by molecule, the very tough rubber that comprised the bottoms of his training shoes. The trial of miles, the miles of trials. How could they be expected to understand that? I love that book. The secret is in consistency. It's getting out there and doing hard work over time. It's very simple. It's hard, but it's simple, right?
Yep.
All right. Thank you for joining us again this week, and we will get back together again next week. But until then, may God bless every step of every run and or walk. Go out there and shine your light.
Good job, Dean.
For more information about Upward Running, visit upwardrunning.com. If you have questions about your salvation, click on the Peace with God tab. There is nothing more important. Thanks for joining us today.